As we move towards the 2023 presidential election, the following are the headlines you don't want to miss. Show us what you have done for women before. Pro-Tinubu group challenges Atiku, Obi. You don't know them. Tinubu tells Ekiti people not to vote Peter Obi, Atiku. I'll ensure equal representation between rich, poor, Obi. We need pan-Nigerian leader, not ethnic personality, Atiku. Apologize over your divisive comment, Ohanaeze tells Atiku. I'm confident I win, don't leave me, Tinubu pleads with El-Rufai. There'll be no discrimination under my watch, Obi. Atiku belongs to dying breed of ethnic, regional politicians, Tinubu says. Now hear the news in full. You don't know them. Tinubu tells Ekiti people not to vote Peter Obi, Atiku. The presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Tinubu, has charged the people of Ekiti State not to vote for other presidential contestants in the 2023 polls. Tinubu disclosed this at the inauguration of the newly sworn-in governor of Ekiti State, Abadan Oyebanji. Tinubu said, "You don't know them. The only person you know is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and you must deliver 95% of the votes." Tinubu promised to support Oyebanji to success, adding that Ekiti would not regret voting Oyebanji and APC. "We are going to support Oyebanji to succeed, we would not allow him to fail. We are thanking you for not allowing the terminates to return to Ekiti State. APC will not disappoint you. Show us what you have done for women before." Pro-Tinubu group challenges Atiku, Obi. A women's support group within the All Progressives Congress APC, the Progressive Sisters Network, has challenged presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and of the Labour Party LP, Mr. Peter Obi, to show evidence of their support for women in the past. The group noted that the Tinubu/Shettima joint ticket presents the greatest hope of equity for Nigerian women. This was contained in a statement by Rinsala Obiola, national coordinator of the network. According to her, Tinubu, in addition to prioritizing women's empowerment in Lagos State, has mentored many women politically. She said, "Our foremost aim at this moment is to contribute our quota to mobilizing women's votes for our father, leader and presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and his running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima, and this is what has led to the conceptualization of the sister-to-sister campaign. Our message is simple. The Tinubu/Shettima ticket presents the greatest hope of equity for Nigerian women, and this assertion is backed by the public service track record of both men. I make it bold to say that there is no leader in Nigeria's political space who can lay claim to empowering and mentoring as many women as Asiwaju has, and I throw a challenge to other presidential candidates and their supporters to tell us what they have done for women." Abiola also lauded efforts by Tinubu's running mate, Kashim Shettima, at gender mainstreaming during his tenure as governor of Borno State, saying he had 4 female commissioners and several women empowerment projects.
"I'll ensure equal representation between rich, poor, Obi." Ahead of the 2023 general election, the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, has promised the electorate of ensuring equal representation between the rich and the poor in the country if voted into office as the president. Obi made this remark in a press statement from the Obidati Media Office, which was made available to The Punch, highlighting the purpose of his visit to Queen's College, Lagos, where he spoke at the Old Girls Association program commemorating the 95th anniversary of the institution. Obi said, "My administration will ensure that citizens' interests supersede political interest and the existing trust gap between the government and the governed, the poor and the rich will be reduced to the barest minimum." The LP standard-bearer added that female representations in his government will be assured, recollecting that as governor of Anambra State, his administration achieved close to a 60-40 gender balance in appointive and elective positions, while that of federal government was around 30-35%. He further disclosed that education is central to his policy thrust and said he would pursue a Marshall Plan-type program on education that incorporates compulsory technical and vocational skills, sports, entrepreneurship, programming, and digital skills from primary to the secondary level. According to him, inevitably, we will improve access to finance, MSMEs, youth and women, to significantly reduce unemployment and insecurity. According to the former Anambra State Governor, we will introduce a mandatory No Child Left Behind educational policy, mindful that Nigeria's inadequate investments in the social sectors including health, education, and housing, which has resulted in the current dismal social and demographic trends reflected in low life expectancy, high maternal mortality rate, large number of out-of-school children, huge unmet housing needs as well as high youth unemployment. Our government shall prioritize education to serve the following functions: technical and industry relevance aligning with local comparative advantages and factor endowments, modern skills proficiency, critical thinking, ethical citizenship values, global competitiveness, and talent export. The Obi-Dati administration, when elected, will sustain national development. Our governance principles, priority projects and programs shall be anchored on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, he added. Obi noted that experience shows that inclusiveness is an essential element in effective public policy making, pointing out that he intended to stop the underrepresentation of critical components of society in decision-making such as women, youth, and the vulnerable in the country. He also told the Queen's College Old Girls that if elected president he would, from its inception, encourage investment in infrastructure, energy, transport, irrigation, and telecoms and education with gender mainstreaming and social inclusion in education, enterprise and politics will always be a priority. Obi also expressed his commitment to the well-being of the girl child and women, pointing out that this would be fully reflected in his broad and gender-specific policies.
We need pan-Nigerian leader, not ethnic personality, Atiku. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party and former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, has said that the credential of national inclusivity, not ethnicity, should be an ideal that the northern part of the country should examine in electing a new president for the country in the 2023 elections. According to a statement made available by the media advisor to Atiku, Paul Ibe, on Saturday, the PDP standard-bearer made the remarks when he was featured as a guest at the Ewa Joint Committee interactive sessions with various presidential candidates of political parties on Saturday in Kaduna. He noted that with a political career that spanned more than 3 decades, he stood shoulder high as a northerner who had built bridges of unity across the country. Atiku said, "I have been in politics for more than 3 decades and I am a northerner. So, if you ask me why I am the best candidate to lead Nigeria in 2023, I will simply say that what Nigeria needs is a pan-Nigerian president, not whether he is Yoruba, Igbo or Hausa Fulani." The session, which took place at the Ewa House, was attended by high-ranking leaders of various north-based socio-cultural bodies. Atiku, while delivering his speech at the event, highlighted the key policy agendas which he sought to pursue if elected president, to include promoting national unity through deliberate actions that would secure mutual trust and confidence amongst all tendencies. He also enumerated reforms in education, agriculture, and reversing the economic downturn of the country. "Apologize over your divisive comment," Ohanaeze tells Atiku. The Igbo sociocultural group, Ohanaeze Nigbo, has demanded that the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, should retract his statement on divisive politics made in Kaduna on Saturday and apologize to the Igbo extraction and southern region in entirety. The Apex Igbo group lamented that Atiku's remark on the need for northerners to vote only a candidate from the northern region over other tribes' candidates is poignant and provocative. The spokesperson for the group, Alex Ogbonna, expressed disappointment in the speech, saying, "It contradicts Atiku's claims to being a cosmopolitan and detribalized Nigerian." That was a very provocative remark coming from a former vice president of Nigeria. His remark perhaps brings out his mindset about the country. It's a Freudian slip. Something that slips from somebody's mouth unintentionally, which reveals the person's deep feeling about something. It is on record that the Igbo and the South voted for Abubakar Tafawa. They voted for Shehu Shagari, Umaru Yar'Adua and Muhammadu Buhari. So, why can't there be reciprocity? He should have gone ahead with his campaigns without creating unnecessary ethnic tensions. That remark is abysmally low. It's an ill-advised remark. It's not good for the former vice president. He should find a way to withdraw that remark, Ogbonna added. He further said, Ohanaeze Nigbo worldwide is disappointed by that remark by Atiku. This is because Nigbo had voted for Shagari, Yar'Adua, Buhari and even supported all the military rulers from the north. So, Ohanaeze is calling on the former vice president to apologize to Nigerians and Southerners in particular on that unfortunate remark. It is a divisive one.
Presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, has pleaded with Governor El-Rufai of Kaduna State to support his presidential bid, saying he is confident that he will in 2023. Tinubu solicited the governor's support at the Kaduna Economic and Investment Summit in Kaduna State on Saturday. Applauding El-Rufai, Tinubu noted that Nigeria needed a thinker like the governor. He said, "I am confidently telling you that I will win with your support and I know you are very supportive of me. I know that I am at home here in Kaduna. We will continue to prioritize the restoration of peace and security across all our territories. I am confident. Under my leadership, the government will place emphasis on the use of counterinsurgency doctrine as strategy by our military. We will fight it together, Tinubu added. Tinubu assured El-Rufai that under his watch as president, no part of the country would be conceded to terrorists and robbers. We will continue to train and equip our gallant forces and security personnel with resources, equipment and technology necessary to eliminate crime in our society. Nigeria will succeed and grow to prosperity. I assure you. I will champion an efficient government that will eliminate revenue leakages across federal areas leveraging technology. Tinubu also urged El-Rufai to remain in Nigeria in 2023 to work with him. He said, "If you leave me on the podium, I will continue to campaign here. Don't run away from Nigeria in 2023 because we need your creativity at this critical time."
Atiku belongs to dying breed of ethnic, regional politicians, Tinubu says, XVP antithesis of a pan-Nigerian politician. Presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has fired back at the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, describing the latter as belonging to a dying breed of politicians who resort to base ethnic and regional sentiments in the desperate bid to capture power. Head of new media at the APC Presidential Campaign Council PCC, Chief Femi Fani-Kayode, in a statement on Sunday said such tomfoolery is rarely not seen from the worst amongst us. Atiku had at the weekend in Kaduna during an interactive session with Airwa Joint Committee, allegedly said Northerners need someone of his stature and not a Yoruba or Igbo president. However, Fani-Kayode said Atiku's words are not only unacceptable but also insulting, irresponsible and despicable. This is especially so, given the fact that by next year we would have had 8 years of Northern/Fulani rule, and now this man, Atiku, says we must have another 8 years of it because that is what is best for the North. Most Northerners do not believe this, and thankfully, they, unlike Atiku and members of his divided party, do not see Southerners as slaves, and they regard us all as being equal. We will not allow Atiku to do to us what he did to Wike. We will not be cheated or denied. It is time for power to shift to the South, and an overwhelming number of the people in the North, and certainly all the Northerners in the APC believe that. They recognize the fact that if we want our nation to continue to enjoy peace and remain united into the distant future, we must be fair in our dealings with one another. Atiku is a dying breed who still sees things from a regional, ethnic, and religious prism. Nigeria has moved on from that, and she deserves better. Our nation will not accept an ethnic bigot and tribal champion as their president. Atiku Ibn Dubai does not speak for the North, he speaks for his deluded and blind PDP supporters and his PCC. Nigeria does not need a northern or southern president, she needs a Nigerian president, and Bola Ahmed Tinubu is that president, added Fani-Kayode. Ethnocentric opportunism. Tinubu, in a separate statement by the director, media and publicity of his campaign council, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, noted that Atiku's declaration to the effect that Northerners don't need a Yoruba or Igbo president is the worst expression of ethnocentric opportunism ever uttered by a former Nigerian vice president. According to him, this clearly demonstrates how low a man honored with the second highest office of the Nigerian constitution is willing to sink in search of a perennial wild goose chase after the highest office in the land. He said, it confirms the argument that Atiku has feasted on such base, cheap, primordial sentiments to use the masses and the elite of the North as the ladder to ascend to power since 1989 without any dividends to show. Doubling down in his now infamous speech, Atiku said, what the average Northerner needs is somebody who is from the North and also understands that part of the country and has been able to build bridges across the country. This is what the Northerner needs, it doesn't need a Yoruba or Igbo candidate. I stand before you as a pan-Nigerian of Northern origin. In clear terms, Atiku, who stole the PDP ticket, by a similar mindset, has cast himself as a Northern candidate who should solely be supported by the people from his region. Tinubu noted that Atiku's public declaration, which framed him as an ethnic and regional champion, is unbecoming of a man who was once the vice president of Nigeria. The APC standard-bearer, however, said he was not surprised by Atiku's desperate position, adding that the former vice president has resorted to whipping up ethnic sentiments, knowing that his chances of being elected have become a mirage. He has himself, not anybody else, to blame for his expected electoral misfortune. First, he broke the fundamental rules of power rotation in his party and the country. As if this cardinal sin was not enough, the PDP candidate has remained defiant in the face of pressure by preserving the two topmost posts in his party for people from his region. The Nigerian public now knows better that a man who has been campaigning as a so-called unifier of our disparate groups is a tribal jingoist who has now totally eviscerated all pretensions to being a detribalized Nigerian. He is demonstrably the antithesis of a pan-Nigerian politician. Nigerians of goodwill, who, daily, seek a united and prosperous nation, should reject Atiku and his party at the polls next February. Atiku only pays lip service to national unity, despite that it features as one of the 5 cardinal points of his so-called covenant with Nigerians. The facade is over, he is now fully naked before the Nigerian people, Tinubu added.
2023, there'll be no discrimination under my watch, Obi. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, has promised to be a president for all Nigerians irrespective of gender, class, or creed. He said if elected president come 2023, his presidency will rebuild Nigeria where the rich and the poor are equitably and fairly represented. Obi, according to a statement from the Obi/Dati Media office, said this in Lagos at the weekend while addressing the Queen's College Lagos Old Girls Association during an event marking the 95th anniversary of the school. Obi promised to play his part to help build a nation where citizens' interest will supersede political interest and the existing trust gap between the government and the governed will be reduced to the barest minimum. He equally said the female gender will enjoy a pride of place in his cabinet and all appointive positions. The LP candidate recalled that as governor of Anambra State, his administration achieved close to a 60-40 gender balance in appointive and elective positions while that of federal government hovered around 30-35%. He assured women that his presidency, if elected, intends to progressively aim for between 35-40%, with aggressive gender mainstreaming action plan and rigid benchmarks. Obi announced that education is at the core of his government policy thrust, noting that he will pursue a Marshall Plan-type program on education that incorporates compulsory technical and vocational skills, sports, entrepreneurship, programming, and digital skills from the primary to the secondary level. And inevitably, we will improve access to finance, MSMEs, youths, and women, to significantly reduce unemployment and insecurity. He added. The former Anambra State governor said, we will introduce a mandatory, no child left behind educational policy, mindful that Nigeria's inadequate investment in the social sectors, health, education, and housing has resulted in the current dismal social and demographic trends reflected in low life expectancy, high maternal mortality rate, large number of out-of-school children, huge unmet housing needs as well high youth unemployment. He further said, our government shall prioritize education to serve the following functions: technical and industry relevance, alignment with local comparative advantages and factor endowments, modern skills proficiency, critical thinking, ethical citizenship values, global competitiveness, and talent export. According to him, his administration will also prioritize a structured approach to developing the digital skills of our young population to give them the competitive advantage to receive offshore jobs in the new gig economy, while also improving the efficiency and productivity level of our economy. Speaking further, he said, the Obi-Dati administration, when elected, will sustain national development. Our governance principles, priority projects, and programs shall be anchored on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Obi noted that experience shows that inclusiveness is an essential element in effective public policy making, pointing out that he intends to stop the underrepresentation of critical components of the society in decision-making such as women, youth, and the vulnerable in our midst. The candidate equally told the Queen College Old Girls that if elected president he will, from its inception, encourage investment in infrastructure, energy, transport, irrigation, and telecoms and education with gender mainstreaming and social inclusion in education, enterprise and politics will always be a priority. He also expressed his commitment to the well-being of the girl child and women, pointing out that this will be fully reflected in his broad and gender-specific policies. Obi also announced plans to reset and reboot Nigeria in all ramifications: leadership and governance, security of life and properties, economic and political freedom, and this according to the candidate, who will entail the promotion of intangible assets that underpin democracy, namely, good governance, rule of law, security of lives and properties, and robust institutions. There will be visible and measurable indices of governance the people can experience, he added.